Girl who was raised in the jungle by animals leaves scientists baffled by what she can do. Amara had spent her entire life in the jungle. She didn't know anything about the world beyond the tall trees and the babbling brook. All she knew was the sound of rustling leaves, the chirping of birds, and the occasional roar of a predator. She was wild and free like the animals around her. Amara had no memory of her parents or where she came from. She was raised by the animals, and they were her family. She spent her days playing with the monkeys, swinging from vines, and running with the deer. She had learned to communicate with the animals through gestures and sounds. She could mimic any sound she heard, be it the roar of a lion or the screech of an eagle. Amara was curious about the world beyond the jungle. She had heard stories from the animals about the outside world, but she didn't know what was true and what wasn't. She wanted to see it for herself, but she was afraid. The jungle was her home and she didn't want to leave it. One day something strange happened. Amara heard a sound that she had never heard before. It was a loud buzzing noise, and it was getting louder. She climbed to the top of a tall tree and looked out over the jungle. What she saw amazed her. A strange metal bird was flying towards her. It was like nothing she had ever seen before. The metal bird landed in a clearing not far from where Amara was perched. A group of people emerged from the bird, and they looked just as strange as the metal bird. They were dressed in clothes that looked uncomfortable and carried strange objects that she had never seen before. Amara watched from a distance as the people explored the jungle. They were amazed by the plants and animals just like she was when she was a child. They took pictures and notes, and they seemed fascinated by everything they saw. Amara knew that she couldn't stay hidden forever. She was curious about the strangers and she wanted to know more about them. She climbed down from the tree and approached them slowly. They were startled by her appearance, but they quickly realized that she was just a child. The strangers were scientists, and they were amazed by what they saw. Amara was different from anything they had ever seen before. She had adapted to the jungle environment and lived among the animals. She communicated with them through gestures and sounds, and she was as wild and free as the animals themselves. The scientists decided to take Amara with them to study her and learn more about her abilities. Amara was scared, but she was also excited. She had always wanted to see the world beyond the jungle, and now she had her chance, but she also knew that she would miss the animals and the sounds of the jungle. As Amara climbed aboard the metal bird, she wondered what lay ahead. She was leaving behind everything she had ever known, but she was also embarking on a new adventure. She felt a mix of excitement and fear, and she knew that her life would never be the same again. The scientists took Amara to their research center, a sprawling complex filled with state-of-the-art equipment and laboratories. Amara was amazed by everything she saw. The place was so different from the jungle, and she felt like she was on a different planet. The scientists put Amara through a battery of tests. They measured her height, weight, and body temperature. They tested her vision and hearing, and they even took samples of her hair and skin. Amara didn't understand what they were doing, but she cooperated because she wanted to learn as much as she could. As the days passed, Amara began to adjust to her new surroundings. She was given a room of her own, and the scientists brought her books and toys to play with. They tried to teach her how to speak, but Amara found it difficult. She was so used to communicating with gestures and sounds that words felt strange and unnatural to her. One day the scientists brought in a group of animals to see how Amara would react. They wanted to see if she could communicate with them or if she would be afraid of them. Amara was thrilled to see the animals, but she was also confused. She didn't understand why they were in a room and not in the jungle where they belonged. Amara approached the animals, slowly communicating with them through gestures and sounds. To the scientists' amazement, the animals seemed to understand her. They responded to her gestures and sounds as if they were having a conversation with her. The scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. They had never seen anything like it before. As the scientists continued to study Amara, they began to realize that she was capable of things they had never seen before. She had an incredible memory and could recall the details of every plant and animal she had encountered in the jungle. She had an uncanny sense of direction and could navigate her way through the research center without getting lost, and she had an incredible sense of empathy, able to understand the emotions of both humans and animals. The more they learned about Amara, the more fascinated the scientists became. They realized that she was a unique individual with incredible abilities. They wanted to learn as much as they could from her, but they also wanted to make sure that she was happy and comfortable. Amara enjoyed spending time with the scientists, but she missed the jungle and the animals. She longed to be outside surrounded by the sounds and smells of the jungle. She missed her family, the animals that had raised her, and she wondered if she would ever see them again. As Amara looked out the window of her room, she wondered what the future held. She had come so far from the jungle and she had learned so much about the world beyond. But she also knew that there was so much more she had yet to learn. She felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty, and she wondered what adventures lay ahead. As the scientists continued to study Amara, they began to uncover some clues about her past. They found strange marks on her skin that appeared to be animal bites, and they discovered that she had an incredible sense of smell which was heightened when she was around certain plants and animals. The scientists realized that Amara had likely spent her entire childhood in the jungle raised by animals. They couldn't believe what they were discovering. It was as if Amara had been living in a world that no one else knew existed. They decided to take Amara back to the jungle to see if she could lead them to the animals that had raised her. They wanted to learn more about how she had survived in the jungle, and they hoped to find out more about her mysterious past. As they trekked through the jungle, Amara's senses were on high alert. She recognized every sound and smell, and she seemed to know exactly where she was going. The scientists were amazed by her abilities and they followed her lead. Suddenly they came across a clearing and Amara froze in the center of the clearing. There was a group of animals including monkeys, birds, and even a jaguar. Amara approached them cautiously, communicating with them in a way that only she could understand. The scientists watched in awe as the animals responded to Amara. They seemed to be communicating with her and she with them. The scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. As they watched, Amara suddenly ran towards a nearby tree and began to climb it with incredible speed. The scientists followed her, amazed by her agility and strength. When they reached the top, they saw something that took their breath away. In the branches of the tree there was a family of monkeys, and one of them looked just like Amara. The scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. Amara's family was a group of monkeys who had raised her as their own. They had taught her how to climb trees, communicate with animals, and survive in the jungle. Amara was thrilled to be reunited with her family. She hugged them and played with them, and the scientists watched in amazement. They had uncovered a mystery that was beyond anything they had ever imagined. As they made their way back to the research center, the scientists couldn't stop talking about what they had seen. They had discovered a girl who had been raised in the jungle by animals, and they had uncovered a world that was beyond their wildest dreams. They knew that Amara was a unique individual with incredible abilities, but they also knew that she belonged in the jungle with her family. They made the decision to let Amara stay in the jungle, but they promised to visit her often and continue to learn from her. As they said goodbye to Amara, the scientists knew that they had uncovered something truly extraordinary. They had found a girl who was raised in the jungle by animals, and she had left them baffled by what she could do. As the scientists returned to the research center, they couldn't stop thinking about Amara and her incredible abilities. They knew that they had uncovered something truly special, and they were eager to continue studying her. But Amara had made a decision. She wanted to stay in the jungle with her family, and she was happy living the life that she had always known. The scientists respected her decision, but they knew that they would miss her. Days turned into weeks, and the scientists continued their research, but they couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. They knew that Amara was out there in the jungle, living her life and communicating with animals in a way that no one else could. Then, one day the scientists received a surprise visitor. It was Amara's mother, a monkey who had raised her from birth. The scientists were shocked but thrilled to see her. The monkey had come to deliver a message from Amara. She wanted the scientists to come and visit her in the jungle. She had something to show them. Excited by the prospect of seeing Amara again, the scientists set out for the jungle. When they arrived, they were greeted by Amara and her family. They hugged her and played with her, amazed by her continued growth and development. Then Amara led the scientists to a nearby clearing. In the center of the clearing there was a group of animals, all different species, gathered together. They were all looking at Amara. Amara stepped forward and began to speak. She explained to the scientists that the animals had come to her with a problem. They were struggling to communicate with humans who were encroaching on their territory, and they needed Amara's help. The scientists were stunned. Amara had become a mediator between the animals and humans, able to bridge the gap between two worlds that had always been separated. Amara had found her purpose in life, and the scientists were amazed by her ability to communicate with animals in a way that no one else could. They knew that she had a special gift, and they were excited to continue studying her. But they also knew that Amara was happy living in the jungle with her family. They made a promise to visit her often and to continue learning from her, but they also knew that she belonged in the jungle doing what she was born to do. As the scientists said goodbye to Amara and her family, they knew that they had witnessed something truly remarkable. They had found a girl who was raised in the jungle by animals, and she had left them baffled by what she could do. But they had also found a new way of understanding the world around them thanks to Amara and her unique abilities. And as they returned to the research center, they knew that Amara's legacy would live on, inspiring future generations to explore the mysteries of the natural world and to find new ways of communicating with the creatures that share our planet.